What's up, Starcraft fans? This video is brought to you by Endarthe, who is supporting me on Patreon. Pulse Cannon tier supporters or higher are guaranteed one video rendition per month. This month, he requested that I do a wiki review of Swann. So let's actually have Eveling in the call with us today. Eveling, how are you?
Doing all right, doing all right. Just relaxing and recuperating.
Yeah, I'm also relaxed. I'm actually a bit sleepy for some reason, but that is not relevant. What is relevant is I have already copy pasted snippets of details from the Swann wiki, so I'll actually read. Swann is a playable commander in co-op in Legacy of the Void. His army comp is based on mech stuff, improving their performance and allowing him to build lots of them quickly. He can also have the laser drill. The player can control it and attack anything within range. Technically, it has like 500 range or something, but effectively, it's the entire map. Since the entire map is like 200 radius or something at most, so pretty big. He can also construct a variety of defensive turrets. All of his mechanical units are constructed 20% faster than normal, and his factories and armories do not cost any Vespene gas to construct. Really, the armory is no longer. I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think it was a.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that till like maybe about a month ago.
Yeah, I actually do remember in the prestige patch they did change that. As a downside, Swann is unable to build a barracks and must rely on factory and starport units. So nothing out of the ordinary. The intro is good, right? Okay,
Good way to
so
describe it.
yeah, that's accurate. Let's move on. Unit, race, Terran, affiliation, Dominion, Rainers, Raiders, role. So it might be a bit confusing here, but in Legacy of the Void, Raiders have become part of the Dominion because Valerian became Emperor, so it's fine. Role Armored Warfare and Emplacement Battery. Strategic Defense. What does Emplacement Battery mean, what do you think?
The placement battery is just a static defense. So
So what's the difference
I
between
mean,
Emplacement Battery and Strategic Defense?
the placement battery just means you have a static turret there. Strategic defense is you gotta plan out how you're gonna SimCity your turrets in order to make effective use of it, which is pretty spot on, I think.
There may be some aspects missing here. His rates are pretty good at sniping objectives. And the laser drill, if you have the first prestige on, heavy weapon specialist, is pretty good at taking out waves of stuff. He also has pretty good anti-air. Anything else I missed?
Uh, in terms of roles,
For most people in the solo queue, his role is the gas guy,
pretty much.
right?
Gas guy or an IDEF guy.
Yeah, kind of. But that's really a very limited way of playing him, I would say.
And
Miscellaneous.
then he's the guy that does mass factories, floating factories. So
Oh yeah, you can also do mass floating factories with Swann. So you kind of have him like an idle pusher or something, or an idle offense, or relatively idle at least. Anyway, miscellaneous strengths, late game dominance, strong static defense, enhanced here it is, enhanced Vespene income. Hercules gives high mobility, siege tanks durable and do heavy damage. Weaknesses: slow ramp up time, hard to rebuild army, low base damage. What do you think about this?
low laser base damage. It does enough. I can see where they're going with that. Weaknesses. I think the most glaring weakness that we see of Swann is the slow ramp up time, which is
That is spot
tied
on.
to his minerals.
Yeah, that's
His
spot on.
mineral. It needs to be said that his weakness is mineral income. He spends way too much on supply depots. Takes him a while to get all those minerals for, I mean, his army itself or just mass turrets. It's a mineral sucker. If he had some form of mineral boost like mules or stat zone or something to that extent, that would help him immensely.
I would
But
also add,
he is what it is.
yeah, I would also add for his strengths. if you have heavy weapon specialist, the laser drill can be quite an effective form of crowd control, just slowing down everything within a certain radius. And I agree with everything you said about the weaknesses. I agree. For the low laser based damage, I assume that I've read ahead, so I know that the this particular wiki doesn't assume that players will go for the laser drill build. However, I think everyone, like everyone that does the videos with us, does prioritize the laser drill build time, and upgrade cost over the gas drone cost, right?
Right.
It's just
Does
undisputed.
the wiki account for prestigious?
There is a section later of prestigious, and we will get to it. But I think
Okay.
this wiki recommends the gas drone, which I think is one of the biggest mistakes
Absolutely.
of yeah of
Absolutely not.
yeah. All right, let's move on then. Strategies. Swann has access to a variety of Brood War and Starcraft 2 units. He has lots of options. It is very upgrade heavy. Centered around building as many mech stuff as possible, Swann mixes up the old and new with a variety of gas guzzling war machines. Swann can construct factories without the need of a barracks and any Vespi. To top it off, Swann also has access to the laser drill from Wings of Liberty after 5 minutes of build time. What do you think about this?
I do like the call out that he has a mix of old and new. I mean, you got Goliath and Race from Brood Wars or the original Starcraft, mixed in with new such as Hellions and Thors.
Thors, yes.
Siege tanks
Hercules. No,
are
siege
kind of
tanks
a
are definitely a mainstay of StarCraft One. They're like one of the most iconic units of StarCraft One.
well, you have the Arclight siege tank from StarCraft 1, and then you have the StarCraft 2 version, so you can kind of say it's mixed and matched in some sense. The
Well,
idea of a siege tank still exists.
well, the siege tank, the siege tank is a StarCraft One unit. It's StarCraft Two version called a toy.
Much,
Uh,
much way to
mm,
sell to kids.
I think this is pretty much correct. I would just
Yep.
not. I would just remove the description of gas guzzling war machines, because if you want to mass rates, for example, it's not that gas heavy. You're usually fine,
No.
and especially if you want to float factories and just use that for your legion and do a static defense based build, you will not have any use for gas, pretty much.
Yeah, and you can call turrets war machines too. I mean, they are
They
war
are war
machines. So,
machines. They just don't have wheels on them. So
speaking of wheels, Hellions are also war machines and Hellbats, but they don't suck up any gas.
yeah, so they don't have wheels and legs. So those war machines at least. But yes, I would remove the adjective of gas guzzling on the war machines. Then you've got it's pretty much spot on. Laser
Hmm.
drill laser drill will be up in about half that time. The 5 minutes of build time, the laser drill goes online much quicker if you have the mastery for it, which I think I do recommend over the Vespine gas cost, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The earlier you have your laser drill up, especially on P1, it starts doing work. Like per se on a map with early pressure such as Rift as Core Hall, or if you got a mutation such as Void Rift, having it up before 300 seconds is like almost
Quite
crucial.
useful. Almost crucial. All right, let's move on. Mastery strategies. Here we go. Power set 1, concentrated beam combat drop. So, this particular guide recommends a 19 and 11 split. What that means is they recommend 19 points on concentrated beam and 11 points in combat drop duration and life. This will allow your concentrated beam to deal 552 damage, which is enough to one shot the highest health standard unit in the game, the battle cruiser. So it pretty much gives us the recommendation to max out, or not max out, to give the concentrated beam just enough damage to deal with pretty much any non-hybrid unit or non-heroic unit in the game, and also the infested structures on Dead of Night. So what do you think about this recommendation?
The thing is, affects damage, but it also affects the width.
Yes.
So having it at 19 is a little not girthy enough for me. For me, the bare minimum is like 22. I usually have at 23. It makes a big difference to
Interesting.
essentially one shot a wave at like if you're pretty spot on with it. If you need a little more leniency, yeah, go full 30. But yeah, having that girth is important, and this is assuming I'm pretty sure he's doing 1911 for
No
just
prestige.
regular brute.
Yes.
I mean, there's things that are beefier than a battle cruiser, and yeah, having that extra oomph to essentially delete an attack wave with chunkier things is kind of important. So it depends on what you're playing. If you're playing mutations, yeah, you may want more than this recommendation.
Yes, but for me, what really determines is not the situation, but the prestige you've selected. If you've selected the first prestige, heavy weapon specialist, you do not have concentrated beam, so you should actually put all your mastery points on combat, drop duration, and life. Any other one, I would say that I'm okay with 19 and 11 concentrated beam because even though it doesn't really max out its range, the rest of the points, if you put it on combat, drop duration, life, it's still pretty effective. So I would say it's not a bad idea to just do
It's
this split or even the 20, 21, 22, and 8 split that you recommended. I'm not particular to that, but I do like having a good concentrated beam if I have it. But if I don't have, remember, if you don't use the first prestige, or if you use the first prestige, the heavy weapon specialist, you should put everything in combat operation life because you literally don't have concentrated beam. They cover everything?
sure. I just would like to add for combat drop. Usually, it depends on like how you effectively use it. If you really push them to get maximum usage out of every drop, then sure, that makes more sense putting in more points. For me, I usually just want the combat drop to help me get past the early game so I can deal with the first attack wave or something to that extent. So I don't need that many points into it. But if you're really extending and using them to push into deep territories, then yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on. Power set to Immortality Protocol cost and build time. So you can see that he just put everything in Immortality Protocol cost and build time. If you are going
No.
for the first prestige and your strategy is floating factories, you instead want to have everything in structure health instead of Immortality Protocol. And also, if you're going for rates, there is no use for Immortality Protocol. So rates are probably one of the best strategies you can have for Swann. They have incredible damage, especially if you're pretty good at keeping them mobile. And since they don't use Immortality Protocol, you might as well put all your masteries into building health. What do you think, Eviling?
Play it to how your playstyle fits. Immortality Protocol only applies to siege tanks and Thors. If you're not going to be using them, do not put any into there. But
Yes.
if you do intend to use them and you find yourself having to revive them pretty often just due to being aggressive with them, and it makes sense to put in some points, but
All right.
I would not put all your points into there. At most, for my personal taste, at most I would put 15 into it.
15.
No
Okay.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Vespine Harvester cost. So yeah, you can see that this guide specifically recommends Vespine harvesting cost. No matter what prestige I use, I always go for laser drill build time, and upgrade cost because it just gives you effectively a strong hero unit in the early game with concentrated beam. Remember, the more points you put in laser drill build time, and upgrade cost, the faster you will have your concentrated beam and your pulse cannon ready. And even if you use the first prestige, the base damage and the splash damage of the laser drill will be just so incredible if you have the upgrades. So I didn't actually bother reading the Vespine Harvester cost. Usually, what my strategy for Vespine Harvester cost is, since I usually don't go for a gas heavy strategy. I just go for the laser drill and then wraiths. I don't really use the Vespene harvesting drones until like 8 minutes into the game, if they're at the earliest. Once I have all my laser drill upgrades done, I can throw some extra minerals at the geysers with them drones. What do you think, Eveling?
So I did have a chance to skim through it, and yeah, one thing I would like to say is if you don't have a Swann ally, you should know how to operate without gas drones. You should know how to play the game without it. If you do have a Swann ally, even if he comes in late with the gas drones, that's still you're already set for where you are.
Yeah.
What CTG said regarding the power up for essentially your Swann's hero unit. He doesn't have Swann as a hero unit. The hero unit is the laser drill.
Exactly.
So invest in it. Invest in it. For me, my personal taste, I do put in a few points into Vespene harvester cost just so that I can get the cost of it down to roughly about 100 minerals.
It is 100.
Yeah, a little less than 100, maybe 75, something to that extent. Like the price of refinery. When you do set up, you gotta keep in mind that when you drop a gas. So one thing that many people miss is when you drop a gas drone, no matter whose refinery it is, it adds to the total for both you and your ally.
Yes, it does.
So if you have an ally that's whining because you didn't drop a gas drone on top of his just due to where your camera was, that ally really needs to understand how Swann works. It's as long as you're dropping gas drones, it contributes to both you and your ally. But for you as a Swann player, early on, your minerals are like key. You need to make sure you're saturated on that. Then once you have at least 14 workers on your main mineral line, any extra workers, then you can start setting up your refinery. Set up your refinery for your 2 refineries first, because that's where most of your income, your gas income, is going to come from. Not the gas drone that you drop on your ally. That's like essentially a trickle.
It's a very small
equivalent of. Yeah, it's the equivalent of just having 1 extra worker on gas.
Exactly.
Whereas if you have a refinery up, you got 3 workers working the gas. So
actually, not even a full worker, because if worker returns 5 gas per trip, the harvesting drone returns like 2 gas per trip. So it's even less than a worker. It's even less than a worker.
More menial than that.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like you have a worker harvesting from your ally's expansion. There we go. That's kind of how it's like.
Long distance mining.
Yes, you have one worker harvesting from your ally's expansion geyser. That's how far it is. That's how low it is in reality. So I would say that the investment of the early game minerals is not worth it. I would just not use even this mastery. Just the early laser drill ability. You can use the laser drill to even break down your rocks, deflect the first attack wave, secure the first objective. It's just so versatile, especially when you have a factory floating to provide vision. There's actually so much upside to using a fast laser drill instead of like getting like a trickle of extra gas for like you have to pay for it even. But as I've mentioned, the laser drill is I consider far superior, not even slightly superior, far superior to the Vespene harvesting cost. I believe we've belabored this point already. I think at this point, people either agree with us or just disagree with us. Incorrectly disagree with us, by the way. Incorrectly disagree with us. Let's move on. Now,
okay.
Let's move on to prestigious. Heavy weapon specialist P1 has no impact on Swann's army, and it's a change to the laser drill. Normal attacks have greatest, increased damage output and slow down enemies. but Swann doesn't have top bars. The power up to the laser drill makes it more useful on longer missions, where the player expects repeated enemy engagements in quick succession, since the drill can offer more support in small skirmishes and its top bars are less desirable. It is also more effective on missions where enemies are weaker, especially with infested Terran or enemy mutators with duelings or infested. On these missions, the drill's faster speed and splash allows it to quickly and efficiently handle small clumps of enemies while slowing them down in advance. However, the lack of top bar makes Swann vulnerable if facing a large group of enemies that he lacks the numbers to fight directly, and his only way to deal with unexpected ambushes or support an ally if his army is not in position is his Ares cooldown, which he can use only sparingly. The player can help make up for these deficiencies by using Hercules dropships to improve the mobility of Swann's army and quickly respond, and the use of science vessels to scout enemy attacks and irradiate hybrids. So what do you think about this description of the first prestige? Eveling, we're still on the call?
Hello. Hello.
You're very quiet.
S- P1. I think it touches upon the surface part of P1. I don't see too much on. From what I read, it doesn't. He doesn't touch upon one of the major things about P1 Swann is the slow. It can slow like almost a good portion of the attack wave, which is crucial for a mutation such as Speed Freaks. That buys you a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, yeah, it's a kind of a surface level. One thing that I'm kind of chuckling about is using Hercules to help with mobility. Amount of pubs I've seen that just makes mass stores and doesn't use a Herc to ferry them around, and they're walking from like one side to the other side on Temple of the Past to deal with bonuses. Is yeah,
It's pretty funny.
that's it's pretty funny. That's not something you see often where a Swann player is effectively using Herc dropships.
I think the main point that they miss out here is the fact that you can build a lot of factories. The factories cost 150 minerals and 0 gas, and they have with your mastery points, I believe 2,000 health or something, or maybe 1,000 health. They have so much health. You can just float them over to the enemy base, and your laser will just automatically do all your work for you. It's actually pretty incredible, especially if you have the building armor and the fire suppression system from the engineering be upgraded. Your factories can just kind of stick around at the enemy base and just let the laser drill just keep pouring on its damage to the enemies. And with splash, it's just continuous damage, especially when you've upgraded your laser drill. It's amazing. We've actually joked before, actually half joked before, that Swann's best unit is the factory, because you can just float it over to where the enemies are, and the enemies will kind of just shoot the factory, but they can't deal with it. Meanwhile, the laser drill is continuously shooting at them. Also missing here are wraiths. Wraiths are pretty good to combo with the laser drill because, as this guide correctly mentions, the laser drill is effective against groups of small units, whereas for big units and the map objectives, you have the wraiths to snipe them down. Did I cover everything, Eveling?
There's one thing I would like to add is it also having mass factories. It essentially holds the attack wave there. It can
Yes.
They see the factory, and if they're coming down the lane, it's like, oh, let's attack this until we kill it. Oh, laser drill is ouch, ouch, hurting. Oh, we're dead. We couldn't kill that factory.
Exactly.
Next wave, same thing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So Swann doesn't produce an army very fast, but it doesn't really matter if the enemies aren't fast enough on their own because the laser drill is slowing them down. So the laser drill buys Swann valuable time to build up his Wraith fleet or whatever you choose to support it with and adequately support the Wraith on destroying large single target stuff like buildings. Okay, I believe we've made the point already. Let's move on. Grease Monkey makes Swann's turrets powerful with all the upgrades. They will have armor, fast attack, the turrets have longer range, and the Flame Betty can hit larger groups of enemies. On missions where static defense is desired, Swann excels and can rival or even surpass Carax as a turret master. The drawback of this prestige is Swann's units cost more gas, making him more gas hungry than ever. The player must set up the refineries and get drones on them to begin banking gas, and Swann's mastery to reduce the cost of drones is critical to allow him to do this without hurting his economy in the early game. The increased cost means Swann may have trouble building an army and cannot afford to take heavy losses, especially tanks, Thors, and science vessels, which are extremely costly to replace. The improved potency of Swann's turrets makes offensive turrets more appealing. A squadron of SCVs can quickly erect a few turrets on the front lines, and they can be salvaged when no longer necessary. The viability of the strategy greatly depends on the mission and enemy comp, but if it works, Swann's turrets can be more powerful than his armies and are easier to replace if destroyed. So what do you think?
The last part, I can go by, but the part about the
Right?
Vespian drones being critical, all that just that grinds my gears in the wrong
Absolutely.
way. Uh, Again, like as you said, wraiths are extremely gas efficient. They hardly take much, and then even though they cost more gas than usual, it's easily affordable. Swann's biggest problem is his mineral income, gas income, especially when you get past like the 8 minute mark is like is not a thing.
It's not a
You
thing.
don't worry about gas. You worry about making sure you're saturated on minerals.
Yes. So, we have a major, I would say a major issue with with the way Grease Monkey described, because I still think even with Grease Monkey, you still want to upgrade your laser drill first, because the laser drill
Absolutely.
is the backbone of your entire strength. You still want to get up to wraiths, because wraiths, as we mentioned, are pretty good, and you probably do want to spend money on those gas drones in the mid game. Like I said, around 8 minutes, but it's I mean, aside from
Like
the egregious suggestion to go for the gas drones, aside from that, it seems pretty okay. I like how this
it's
I like how this guide says that it can even surpass Carax as a turret master. In my opinion, Swann is actually already slightly better than Carax, even before this prestige. What do you think?
Yep.
Right?
Most of Swann's turrets either have CC or splash. Carrick's turrets just pew pew. That's it. There is no CC to them. His
Yes.
CC is in his Spirit of Adun.
Yes.
One thing I would like to add that you're mentioning regarding laser drill, get it up early. One thing about P2 is it's not it's not hindered like P1 or P3. It's essentially the same laser drill, so same concentrated beam timings and everything as P0. And getting that online early, if you think about it as like the duration of the game, the earlier you get it, if you're using it as soon as it becomes online and then using it shortly after its cooldown is ended, you are effectively increasing the overall damage you do per game. So the earlier you
Absolutely.
get it up and get it going, that means your overall damage output throughout the entire game is going up. If you are delaying it, you are hurting your overall damage throughout the game.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move on. Payload Director makes Swann very mobile, able to use only a handful of Hercules to transport massive armies anywhere he wants. The benefit, comes in the mid to late game when Swann has such a large army and is able to build Hercules. The player can make more liberal use of tactical jump to retreat from struggling fights, reinforce and repair the army, then leap back into the fray. Science vessels can use their own tactical jump to quickly get to Swann's units that need healing. And defensively, they can respond to attacks that include hybrid radiant. They should not be used offensively or to scout. They're still
You want me
expensive.
to let me take over. You're gonna be chuckling throughout the rest of this. They should not be used offensively or to scout, as they are still expensive to replace if lost. And Hercules dropship is cheaper, and the scout just as well.
Oh my
The
goodness.
increased cooldown of Swann's top bar abilities, much like his first prestige, leaves him more vulnerable to ambushes and large enemy forces, and the player must be more cautious about when to use these abilities or be left without them when they are badly needed.
So, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, this is. I
Oh
do
my
for
goodness.
P3. I do like the ability to move science vessels around, but not to heal things in a pinch. If anything, it's their detection is being able to tap jump detection into a spot you need it is pretty good. And if things are going bad, healing is like a side thing. If you can, if you tack jump and your ally is not doing so hot, you can tack jump in and start dropping defensive matrices on him.
Yes,
That's
that's
a
what
major
science
thing.
vessels are really for. Number one, for detection. Number two, for defensive matrix. The healing is kind of a placebo heal. You get more healing from the upgrade on your armory, the regenerative biosteel. That is actually better for healing your entire army than a couple of science vessels that cost so much money. But aside from the middle paragraph, I think
You do
large.
have a little discrepancy with the third paragraph. The
Yeah.
increased cooldown of Swann's top bar abilities. For me, I play P3 Swann a lot. It's probably my most played prestige. I still go for laser drill
Yes.
like as soon as possible
Still laser
because
drill.
still a laser drill, and the downside of P3 does not kick in until after you use your first concentrated beam or post
Yes.
cannon.
Absolutely. All right. So
So
this section, yeah, I would rewrite this more as the science vessels are support, not in the repairing sense, but for detection and for defensive matrix. The laser drill is still pretty good. It's less effective, but it's still pretty good because you have fewer top bars, but the damage can still be upgraded. The repair, I would say you're better off getting the regenerative biosteel from the armor if you need repair. Let's move on. So this is a description of the strategies for Swann. Swann economy takes longer than most commanders to get started. Absolutely, 100%. A trick to expand faster is to build a blaster billy next to the rocks after building the first factory. The turret will destroy the rocks, can be salvaged for a full refund after the base has been built. Once you unlock improved SCVs, 10 workers can make the time to construct an expansion while saturating it immediately afterwards. Drones can be placed on all the geysers, including those of your allies. These drones grant gas to both players, can kickstart Swan's economy. I'm not sure about that, but allow for more production of heavier gases while giving more resources to more Vespene reliant heroes like Vorazun. The combat drop, use it against large waves. Try to target its drop as upon impact it stuns enemies around it. What do you think about this one?
it's okay. It's okay. Using a blaster ability to break rocks and then salvage it, that's definitely
Yes.
a way to do things. Uh, Also, if or say if your combat drop has there's nothing left for you combat drop to deal with, then you could use that to break rocks, but not optimal. Usually for me, I will go for depot and then command center, because for early economy, Swann's biggest deal again is minerals.
Yes.
So if you get command center after your depot, that's also like, it's like building a fat depot, but also from that fat depot you can double your
SCV
SCV
production.
production rate,
Yes.
which is major, major to really kickstart things. Once you get that, once I get the second command center, then from there I build factory and then build. I can start building the blaster building next to the expo rocks, or however I intend to expand.
For
But yeah,
me,
having two SCVs coming out early is major. It's kind of like why Zagara takes off quickly, because she can build 2 drones from each larva.
For me, my build is actually a little different. My build is 14 depot, 16 gas, or rather, I build a depot at 14 supply, I build a gas at 16 supply, triple build. I build the factory at 17 supply, single build. As soon as the factory completes, I start the armory, quadruple build. That will allow me, as soon as the factory completes, the factory completion time with mastery will line up with the laser drill going online. So it should line up pretty well. As soon as your laser drill goes online, you should be able to upgrade the first one right away. And as soon as the laser drill goes up, you can target the laser drill on your rocks. I usually also build a single blaster billy at my expansion if it has rocks on it, so the billy and the laser drill can both combine their powers to destroy all the rocks very quickly. After you've targeted the laser drill, shift click it on the gas rocks, and then it can do whatever it wants. And on your blaster billy side, you can also, actually you should also shift click. What shift click does, by the way, is it queues up all your commands. You queue up to attack the mineral rock and your expansion, and then shift click to queue up both of the gas rocks. And then after those have been queued up, you still hold shift, then you press the hotkey or the button for salvage, so that as soon as the blaster billy destroys all 3 rocks, it will auto salvage. You don't have to look at it, you don't have to waste money, or you don't have to waste time not getting your money back for the blaster billy. And then once you've queued up the attacks for the blaster billy, you float your factory, you send it to the enemy base, you start your starport as soon as you have enough gas for it. But it's up to you. You just don't lose your factory, right? It has several tons of health, so you can float a little into the enemy base or a little close to the enemy base to give the vision for the laser drill, but probably don't shove it in the middle. But yes, that's how you use it. That's how you use your factory. Just float it, set it in offense right away, so that when your laser drill completes the rocks, the laser drill can go on offense or defense if you can block the first attack wave using your factory. What do you think, Evelyn?
That is definitely a way to do things.
That is definitely one of the ways of all
May not.
time.
Yeah, there's Swann has what to say is right and wrong is up to your personal preference, but there are some hard things as what is right and wrong, and putting all your points in Vespian drones is definitely not a way to do thing to help with your
Let's just say it's
overall.
wrong. Like,
Well, it's hurting you. You're trying to be a better ally, but essentially you're saying, okay, ally, do everything for me. So I feel like a good guy, but
it's not
I'm
even
decreasing my damage output.
it's not even being a better ally per se. It's just almost, I would almost say, virtue signaling as being a better ally, because you do see the plus numbers, the plus signs go up, but you fail to notice what the number actually says. +1. It every
Yeah.
like 5 seconds. If you really look
It's
into
like,
how much you're helping, It's like, here, a drop of gas. Yay, I'm helping.
Yeah,
That's
it's the same deal of going after your mutation bounty, but insisting that you get the bonus.
right. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, understanding the numbers is kind of important.
Understand the
So
numbers.
just
The gas drone, you just get so much more utility from a faster laser drill. You get to shoot your rocks immediately. You get to upgrade your laser drill to have more powerful, or even unlock your top bars, and you just help by going on offense. That is certainly much more help that you can offer by just dropping a few drops of vest speed on your ally. It's not that impactful compared to having a faster
yeah.
laser drill. Anyway,
Ultimately, you do want to put Vespian drones on all the gas geysers,
yes,
but do it when it makes sense,
when
when
it
you're
makes
floating
sense.
more minerals than you can, and then
Yes,
minerals than you need.
yes,
Like if you're floating, let's say, 200, 300 minerals, then yeah,
go for it.
definitely drop all the drones so you can catch up your gas income and then
Definitely.
have them even out.
All right, let's move on. Powers of the Sun. The laser drill is one of the most powerful tools in Swann's army, and its abilities allow it to cripple most attack waves. However, upgrades do take a long time, so it is worthwhile to get started as early as possible. Finally, some sense! Oh my goodness! Finally! As such, it is useful to have an armory made before the drill comes online. Yes! Perfect! This is the best paragraph of the entire wiki. The drill will auto target any enemy unit that comes out of the fog of war or that comes into vision, but try to focus the drill on higher priority targets such as spellcasters or hybrids. This can also alleviate plenty of trouble if the polarity mutator is in play. What do you think, Eveling?
You say it's perfect. The very beginning sentence kind of tilts me just because I work with the solar industry. I don't see any solar panels powering that thing, so
Well,
I don't know about power the sun. Yes.
in the lore, I believe it says it compares it to the power of the sun. Not it doesn't say solar powered. It just
I
compares its
get it.
power
I get
level
it.
to that of the sun. Does it make sense?
I guess, but I don't see the sun
No, no,
shooting laser the death beams straight into my face.
it does
It's like
shoot.
covering everything.
I want to correct you right there.
Yeah.
The sun does shoot death rays in your face. The thing is,
Oh
there is a
yeah.
protective magnetic field around the Earth that shields you from those death beams. So, but besides, it's like
Um.
90 like million, 90 million billion.
So
It's very far
just
away.
needs magnetic sphere to protect his units. That's all he
Yes,
needs
that's
to
all anyone needs. But yes, it's the
on
sun
an aim on.
is much further away than 500 range, so I would say that it's also shooting an appreciable amount of death lasers at you. But anyway, let's not get too tangled up there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
What?
Um, yeah. I mean, his what he's saying to get your armory up and start upgrading the laser drill as soon as possible. That's spot on. Yeah,
Spot
that's
on.
um, yeah, kind of conflicting with what he's saying with Vespian drones, but yeah, definitely get that laser drill going. It is your hero unit. That's the only hero unit you're gonna get for Swann. You're not gonna get the Swann hero from that Wings of Liberty mission from it. So
Oh
yeah,
yes. As to the power of the sun, I believe it was Tychus who mentioned it. The power of the sun at your fingertips. I think that those were his words. Subsequent will probably correct me if I misquoted someone. But as to this, I think this paragraph is good enough to even be the first one in the strategy section. The laser is so integral to what Swann does. It's so amazing. Let's move on. Set back a pretty penny. Goliaths and Hellbats should be the core units of Swann's army. The superior anti-air and flexible multi-lock upgrades are essential. It allows them to be a good source of damage while staying back from the front lines. Hellbat's armor upgrade can put a buffer between the main army and the enemy. They excel against Zerg armies and are a good way to dump minerals if Swann begins to stockpile them while running low on gas. If possible, try to put on a pair of Hellbats for early defense. While extremely effective once upgraded, Swann's Hellbats are fairly fragile until their armor upgrades are researched. This can leave Swann stunned when their seemingly tough forces are destroyed. What do you think about this?
You are not going to run out of gas by making Hellbats and Goliaths. You will run out of minerals trying to do that.
Yes.
Um,
I think that's what it's
Swann,
saying.
yeah, you can. Yeah, Swann, you can get away with just a pure Goliath army.
Yes.
That used to be a thing for him before Prestigious came along. Is it the best thing to do? It's gonna be very in Goliathane, I guess.
It's I would say that Goliaths and Hellbats can be the core units of a Swann army. I wouldn't say that they should be the core units of Swann's army. They're one of the options, but I wouldn't even say they're the best option. Siege tanks and the Hercules as your anchor is an option. Most people, I think, would find the best use of just spamming wraiths. Just make wraiths out of three starports. They're mobile. They have dodge. They deal so much damage when you shoot from or shoot while moving, especially when you get the upgrade. And they complement the laser drill so well because, as this guide says, the laser drill can be effective against groups of small armies or small enemies, whereas the wraiths are good against the big stuff. Yeah?
And Wraiths pretty much cost the same as a Goliath, but the thing about Goliaths is they're limited by ground pathing.
Yes.
Why be limited by ground pathing? Being able to use the terrain to your advantage by, oh, you're stuck on the ground, you look like you can shoot me from here, whereas I can go wherever I want.
Yes.
That's a huge advantage.
That's a huge advantage. And even if they can't go over the terrain, they're all just the base speed of the wraith is already so much faster than the Goliaths. They just can get to where you need to be much more effectively. Also, the factory has to be mentioned here again. You probably should build like at least one or two extra factories to send forward to give your laser drill vision. Your laser drill is your best unit. You need to keep it shooting as long as it is up. So to do that, send factories at the enemy base, get the building armor upgrade, get the fire suppression systems upgrade so that your factories last ideally the entire game, and just provide vision for your laser drill that just whacks away at the enemy continuously until the end. Let's move on. Drop the hammer. Siege tanks and Thors are also powerful, but they become even more so when you have Immortality Protocol, and they can be reinforced on the front lines instantly. Note that using Immortality Protocol, while cheaper and quicker than making a unit, costs gas. So this does not mean that these units should be wasted carelessly. Siege tanks become flexible against all kinds of targets except the ones in the air, and on maps like Temple of the Past are key to holding off some of the larger attack waves. Know when to siege and when to stay mobile. Never siege outside of the effective range and contribute minimal damage to a large battle. Thors are flexible, can absorb damage from enemy armies. So what do you think about this?
I feel that it's missing one of the major components for complementing siege tanks or Thors.
Yeah.
You need to have her
You
dropships.
need to have the
That
Hercules.
is a major crucial strategy in it. It requires more micro, yes, but it alleviates their mobility problems. Essentially, I mean, think about it. At one point in time in ladder, they had medevacs able to pick up siege tanks while sieged and drop them, and that became such a terror for anyone who wasn't playing Terran, and they took it out of the game.
Yes.
Dropships allow you to do that.
But better.
So, and much better.
Much
You're not
better.
limited to just one siege tank. You can put in a
8.
total of 8
Oh, wait, or if you have the prestige.
if it's not P3.
If you have the prestige,
If you have the
16.
prestige.
16.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
16 siege tanks will just obliterate almost anything on the ground.
Almost anything.
That's why P3, yeah, it's nerfing the laser drill to a certain extent. But yeah, you are sacrificing that for essentially a tactical jump siege tank ground nuke thingy bob, whatchamacallit. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the major thing that's missing from this section. You just by siege tanks alone, or Thors alone is just they're so immobile. It's kind of heart aching to see people not use Hercs in combination with those.
So how you use Hercules here is you make a singular Hercules and you make some siege tanks. You put them in the same control group and you pick up 8 tanks inside Hercules. When you want to fight, you can either fly or jump to where you want to fight, unload the tanks, you use the hotkey for unload, then click on the Hercules. The Hercules will unload where it flies, so it will unload every single tank very quickly. The tanks will shoot at the enemy, and then as soon as they got their volley off, select the control group for the tanks and the Hercules. Remember, you want to have them in the same control group. And then once you have that control group selected, right-click the Hercules so that the siege tanks just load back inside the Hercules. Not only will that keep your tanks mobile, effectively negating the sieged part, that will also keep them safe. That will prevent the enemies from shooting back at the siege tanks while they are reloading, while their shot is getting off cooldown. Ideally, your tanks only unload when they shoot, then they load back again. They only unload when they have a shot available, they shoot, then load back again. You minimize the exposure of your tanks by keeping them in the air. Right, Evelyn?
Very right. And I also like to add, unlike dropping in ladder, if you drop Marines out of a medevac, they drop one by one. For Herc dropships, they drop them all at one time.
Yes.
So it's like a huge damage spike that comes out.
Huge damage spike.
It's very potent, and it's so sad to see people not use it.
Right? By the way, I want to go back to the previous point. The wiki recommended that we build a couple of hellbutts for the first wave. Don't build hellbutts for the first wave.
You are so short on minerals already.
No, I mean, you have better options. Build 2 flaming betties. They can be salvaged. Yep. They don't cost supply. They can be multi-built. Why would you waste money on hellbutts when you can have the flaming betties? I don't see the logic.
I really like that you hit on the supply issue. I mean, supply issue is ridiculous. It's like you have to constantly be building depots and then making hellbats to suck up that supply. It's a flaming betty, no supply, 75 minerals, boom, you're done.
Yes.
Whereas a hellbat, 100 minerals plus the supply, which is a hidden cost that you're not accounting for.
All right, there we go. Let's move on now. Get in my hold, Swann. Hey, here we go. Swann's Hercules dropships are much cheaper than in Wings of Liberty, take up less supply, and can tactical jump. A few dropships can immediately ferry an entire army of Thors and siege tanks past the choke points and dump them instantly wherever they are needed. This is a useful skill to master. Hey, this is good. They do touch upon that fact. So we recant
Thank goodness, I should have read it.
We recant our admonishment of this wiki. It was just added in later. This is a useful skill to master, particularly on maps where Swann has to defend an objective. Really? This is useful skill, especially on maps where you're going offense. The whole point of picking up your tanks is so you can push them on offense without needing to unsiege. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you don't have to play leapfrog with your tanks. You just, it's like, oh, dead. Okay, pick up. Oop, dead.
Swann's critical weakness in terms of late game offense is his speed. His Thor and siege tank based army is painfully slow to reach objectives, forcing him to rely on wraiths. He says it like it's a bad thing. Wraiths are better against single target objectives. Anyway,
Are you relying on Race and Hellions for fragile defense? That doesn't
for
sound right.
impromptu and fragile defense. What? Force him
Yeah,
to
if
rely
you
on.
want impromptu defense, you just get a bunch of SCVs and start making turrets.
Right?
Uh, yeah, that's gonna be much. I mean, so if you're okay, something's attacking your base. Are you going to wait for your factory to churn out 2 Hellions or your starport to churn out 2 Race? No, it's going to come out much faster if you just get a bunch of SCVs and try to build that turret, get that turret up and running, because you can do that within maybe 15 seconds. What the build time of a Wraith or Hellion is, what, 30,
Too
45
long.
seconds?
I choose option
Yeah, way
C.
too long.
I choose option C. I just point the laser at it.
That works too. That works too.
Anyway, let's move on. Science hurts. Science hurts. Not even a mention of raids. Oh my goodness. Lastly, science vessels are one of the most essential units in Swann's arsenal. In addition to being Swann's detector, they can heal for the cost of energy. With improved nano repair, they can repair indefinitely. That means they can keep an entire army going, putting them back to max health between combat fairly quickly. This frees up the energy of the science vessel for other abilities, defensive matrix and irradiate, which can and should be used liberally. Okay, this is fine. The defense matrix part using that liberty, yeah, that's fine. Irradiate,
Yep.
maybe I wouldn't focus on it to be honest. But what do you think?
I find irradiated helpful. It's like
I'll give it a maybe.
one thing one thing I see a lot of people do in terms of misusing irradiate. They put it on like small cheap units, Marines, Zerglings. No, you should put it on yourself. Put it on your science vessels and run your science vessels
Ooh,
in there.
eraser
It
move.
stacks.
Ooh,
Eraser. Yeah.
I would actually use it on like
The
mechanical units like siege tanks or Colossus,
Mhm.
so that they will stay alive and just have the irradiate continuously damaging their friends. And
Yep.
anyone doesn't have the
Hey,
micro to split like that.
nope. Your siege tank's getting swarmed by Zerglings. Irradiate the siege tank. Oh, no problem.
Right?
Irradiate the siege tank. Put a defensive matrix on the siege tank. Siege tank
You're all
is living
good.
pretty right there.
You're all good. All right, let's move on. So here we have not even, it's so sad that there's not even a mention of floating factories or rates. I think the biggest, well, the biggest change that this wiki can use is talk more about the laser drill and present the option of just getting a fast laser drill instead of being the gas guy, because he has so much more
Mm.
utility if he goes for the laser drill. The second biggest one is talk more about the rates and floating factories, which complement the laser drill pretty effectively, especially in the first prestige. Those are probably the two biggest ones I would recommend. Let's move on to
Only good
synergies.
defensive matrix factories.
If only you could defensive matrix factories, that'd be the best. Protoss commanders. So for synergies, Artie grants Swann Garden Shell, which has immense synergy in the mid to late game. In addition to keeping Swann's high cost units alive, Swann's science vessels mean that these units can be quickly recovered from the point of death. With siege tanks and Thors, this gives them another backup in addition to Immortality Protocol. In addition, Artie's army usually consists of Immortals, Dragoons, and sometimes Tempests, which will benefit from Swann's ability to repair them. What do you think?
I feel Artanis is getting more of the benefit from pairing up with Swann than the other way around. Uh, yeah, I'd say if anything, the biggest combo would be actually Swann and Carax, just because repair beam good.
Yeah, but we're talking about Artanis right now. So speaking of
Oh, okay. So
Swann's,
he's going through all of them.
all of them.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Guardian Shell is nice until the Artanis player kicks on P3.
Yes, it's no longer a thing. I think
Yeah.
Artanis' support for for Swann would be observers, because observers are cloaked and can siege to gain vision of a huge radius of units and buildings, which the Lizrul is very happy to clean up for the observer. That is the first one. The second one, the shield overcharge, very effective when you have a bunch of wraiths that are all flying in, and they get targeted by a single seeker missile, and you can't split which one. You're not good at splitting. You get targeted by, for example, a parasitic bomb, or a storm, or a seeker missile. You can't split. Having that shield overcharge, no matter which Artanis prestige, is huge to keep all those guys alive. And for the other way around, Swann's SCVs repair for free. So you send a few SCVs Artanis' way, repair stuff for free, and you're both good. Anything else to add?
That's yeah. There's mutual benefits to have
Yeah.
on both sides.
Right.
It's yeah, and Artanis, depending on which way he plays, he can be extremely gas heavy. So yeah,
Depending on the way he
having
plays.
that extra gas income, yeah,
Okay.
very helpful. Right?
Oh, for Artanis, yeah. Artanis, especially if you want to go for High Templar or for Artanis, the gas drones will
Exactly.
be helpful. Let's move on. But I still wouldn't focus on for Swann. Swann's laser is still better. Karak synergizes perfectly when paired with Swann, due to both focus on mechanical units and potent defense capabilities. Karak's powerful anti-ground with the War of the Colossus are well complemented by Swann's powerful anti-air. Both commanders can also have units that excel against priority targets. Cyclones, Immortals, upgrade. Oh, wow, still not a mention of Wraiths. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote this wiki forgot that Wraiths exist. Swann
Or he's
science.
never used it before.
He's never used it before. Use Wraiths, guy who wrote this wiki. They're great. Swann science vessels and carriers can repair mech units. Both can combine their static defense for more versatility. Energizers can be added for more effectiveness. Carax is incredibly gas starved. Swann goes a long way to alleviate this. It is the only way to obtain a true army of powerful use for Carax. Aside from using P2 Carax. But that's neither here nor there. Carax's passive heal of mechanical units comes in handy in the early game. Swann's units are strong as they are slow, except for Wraiths, which again, the guy who wrote this forgot, making it more difficult for Swann to retreat. Carax's reconstruction is helpful in this case. Not as useful as Unity Barrier, but I get it. If all else fails, Carax can help both players recreate their armies faster than anyone else. So what do you think?
Yeah, that is a fair point until you talk about P3, but yeah.
Wait.
I mean on the very last sentence.
Who's
Carax
P3?
can help both players Carax P3.
Oh, yeah. So
No-
if
no
Carax
chrono-
uses Soul
no
Right
chrono.
Celestial, he doesn't have the chrono, so they will not be mutually beneficial that way. I think this is pretty much spot on, actually. Swann does have powerful anti-air, although Goliath and Thor, but also Wraith and the laser drill itself, very powerful anti-air. Carax's detection,
One thing
yeah.
the priority targets I think is kind of skewed. Cyclones and Immortals, don't do Cyclones and Immortals. Do Wraiths and Immortals.
Exactly. Rates are so much better. I think the guy who wrote this there's that one guy on the Blizzard forums. All he does is rave about cyclones, and he kind of talks like cyclones are the best thing in Swann's kit or something. Maybe that's the guy who wrote this. But aside from that, this is pretty much spot on. Yeah. I would also add, again, the Observer is pretty good for spotting for Swann's laser drill. Use it. Carax's passive heal. Oh wait, let's move on. Vorazun greatly benefits from Swann's Vespine Harvester. Yes. In addition, Dark Pylons can
Incredibly.
shield Swann's heavier backline, such as tanks, and in the higher levels can give it a substantial damage increase. Mass-produced upgraded Wraiths should also be printed for the same reason. Hey, finally, the guy remembered Wraiths exist. Oh my goodness. He remembered that raids
Why for
exist
Warzone?
because Warzone has death recall for cloaked units.
Okay, okay. Is that the only? Jeez,
I mean,
it's like
it's a huge
even
deal.
without, yeah,
It's a huge deal for
yeah,
rates because remember, Swann has an upgrade
yeah. The retention.
for regenerative biosteel that while the
Hmm.
rates are flying back to where the fight is, they're healing. So it's pretty good. Having death recall pretty good. Vorazun can also use Black Hole to set up enemies armor for Swann's powerful cooldowns, as well as the siege tanks and irradiate. Yeah, yeah, pretty good. It's a pretty good one. What do you think?
Yep.
All right.
Um, there's nothing more that can be added. I mean, if it's Swann has a lot of things that do splash. All his turrets, tanks, Hellions, Hellbats. Um, yeah, it's just having the ability to black hole something is like, oh, you want to send a whole gag of Zerglings at a Flaming Betty? Well, let me make it even more juicier just by putting a black hole in front of it.
Oh yeah, and it's not just the black hole that helps Swann out. All of Vor's crowd control, distraction web, time stop, even stasis wards, they all help Swann. Just push without
Hmm.
the fear of reprisal. So amazing, Vorzun for Swann. Let's move on. Alarak is an effective teammate for Swann. Both have access to transports, the Warp Prism, and the Hercules, making them highly mobile. Swann, Goliaths, and Thors provide a powerful anti-air to supplement Alarak's ground-focused army. I guess. Science vessels and SCVs can repair Alarak's powerful robo. Swann's gas are invaluable, allowing Alarak to upgrade and train his ascendants in large numbers. So what do you think about this?
Do you really need to be training ascendants in large numbers? You don't need to have a full command card full of ascendants. You just need to have at least 10, 12, and then get stacks on them. Main thing, you get them and get them early
Get
and start building those
stacks.
stacks.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you're playing late game and making just fresh ascendants, you are doing it wrong. But yes,
Unless you're using unless you're really spamming Alarak's abilities.
sacrifice.
Yes. If that's how you
Yes,
use Ascendants, then feel free to go ahead and do that. I
but
would
don't
say
make them
that
on mass.
Alarak is, I would say, a mediocre teammate, not a bad teammate, not a really, not a particularly great teammate either. They have okay synergy, I think, especially
Alaric
when
is always is a nice teammate for that photon overcharge.
yeah,
So, like, if a
that's
major
true.
attack,
That's
let's
true.
say a major air attack wave is coming, you got spinning dizzy set up, spinning dizzy plus photon overcharge. Holy moly! That yeah, that
Actually, now that I
it
think
takes
about it,
a beefy attack wave to take care of that.
now that I think about it, when Swann flies his factory on offense, Alarak can overcharge it
Exactly.
with the laser drill.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
turns out it's gonna be pretty good after all. All right, let's move on. Phoenix is an excellent teammate for Swann. Phoenix is heavy on gas in spite of their cost reduction, so having a boost economy will help Phoenix's army hit his population cap faster. The largest benefit Swann adds is size vessel, as all of his army is mechanical and has no self heal. I guess this allows his normally squishy army to be more durable. Phoenix's suits, Legionnaires, and Kaldi can also serve as buffer for Swann's mech line, and Swann can also serve to help Phoenix's lack of reliable anti-air with Goliaths. However, both armies take a long while to replace, so bad engagement can mean both commanders fall too far behind to recover. What do you think about this one?
This one seems like a mess to me.
Yeah,
Phoenix Phoenix's units uh are not fragile. I mean,
they
okay, if you're
are.
talking about the shells for P2, then okay, yeah, that's a little fragile.
I believe
But yeah,
this.
they are pretty beefy.
I believe this section of the synergy only talks about no prestige because if you're using the second prestige network administrator, you're just sending the champions over and over again. You will not lose a lot of stuff for Phoenix.
Hmm.
And one thing that
Yep.
wasn't mentioned is conservators are pretty good for keeping your armies alive Conservator is pretty good.
Exactly.
Also, if you're out of position, Phoenix can recall with Arbiter Suit. It's pretty good. And the repair,
For
as to
me, when I
repair,
play Phoenix,
yeah. As to
for me,
repair,
when I play
yeah, go ahead.
Phoenix, his gas is not a problem. It's his minerals that are is the limiting factor.
Yeah. Maybe if you like playing disruptors or something. Anyway, I would rather have for repair I'd rather have SCVs than science vessels because SCVs repair for free. Like I said, they don't even cost energy. And the SCVs themselves cost one
Mhm.
supply and 50 minerals, so much cheaper than science vessels. Let's move on. For Terran oh by the way, uh commander not mentioned here is Zeratul. What do you think about Zeratul's synergy with Swann?
Zeratol's not really. Yeah, he can benefit his robo as long as you're not going for the Void Templars. Yeah, you can repair up hurt ambushers, hurt enforcers, hurt shield guards.
Yeah.
Having
I guess if
having
you're I guess if Zeratul's going
really good thing
for
is
yeah.
if he's going for artifact, put a defense matrix on him.
Yeah.
That would be
That'll keep
definitely
him
helpful for
alive.
him. Sometimes the artifact is yep. Um, but yeah, he's not really hurting for gas per se. So, it's just yeah, he's kind of playing with a neutral teammate, which, I mean, it's Zeratul. Zeratul is goddamn strong already. So,
Yeah.
he, you will be, if anything, the Swann player is gonna be hard pressed to keep up
To
with
keep up with
Zeratul.
Zeratul. Yeah, that's how I feel as well. This one's probably going to have a hard time keeping up with the Zeratul. The only thing I can see for them is the repair. Maybe the gas. The gas for Zeratul's army if he's going for heavy Void Templar and Shield Guards.
Mm.
That's pretty much it. Oh, and the Avatar of Essence. Yeah, Avatar of Essence will make Swan stuff stronger. So that's pretty good. Let's move on. Rainer's army is perfectly functional without any aid from Swann's units and vice versa. However, one strategy that works to maximize efficiency is for Rainer to focus on an air army of Banshees, Vikings, or battlecruisers. As Swann's air game is weak. Oh my goodness.
What?
Oh my goodness.
What? Okay, yeah,
This
we need to stop here. This is wrong
this is
beyond comprehension. Swann's air game is not weak whatsoever.
this needs to be
You want to look
rewritten.
at weak? Look at Kerrigan. Look at Vorazun. Um,
I
yeah,
think I
he
think they're
is no.
saying the air army, not the anti-air,
All
the air
right.
fleet. But still,
Yeah.
Wraiths. Oh
Yep.
my
Rays are
goodness,
freaking strong.
Wraiths are really
No.
good.
Yeah. I mean, are you saying it's weak because he only has 2 or 3 air units? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they engage with race before they get into a ball. What I found is you want to get up to like you want to produce up to like 20 rates before you even start engaging. It's not. I know that 20 rates sounds like a lot, but with your if you're macroing pretty well, the laser drill, what the laser can hold off the early game, and once you have 3 starports worth of production ongoing, you can pump out those rates pretty fast. They don't take that long to produce, and you can get a pretty good army by the time you need your
Laser
rates.
drill, combat drop, conch
Yes,
beam, post cannon. That buys you enough time to
that
get all
buys you
those
enough
rates
time
up.
to get
That's
those rates out. Don't engage until you have like 20 rates, and by then the rate should be pretty good to engage. With such a strategy, Swann can also use Science Vessel to support Rainer's aerial forces. Swann can fight with unattached. Okay, this tech reactor stuff needs to be deleted. I know it technically works, but it's a waste of Swann's money and time. To be
hmm
honest, Rainer
hmm
can just produce his own tech labs and research out of them, and produce his own reactors and produce out of them. I think that the tech reactor thing can work, but I think it's just a waste of money and time for Swann.
the Rainer player needs to man the fuck up and go after Amon's tech reactors. That's the best flex right there.
Something like that. Anyway, so yeah, this part just needs to be rewritten. I think this part needs to rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah. The one thing I do agree with, his air units are gas heavy. So especially if you're going P3, having those gas drones is going to help P3 out
That's true. That's
immensely
true.
because Rainer is starved for gas.
And one more thing is they can do this funky strategy of just Raynor spamming orbitals and just endlessly providing scans for Swann's laser if you want to snipe objectives, while Swann and Raynor both defend with siege tanks. That'll be beautiful. Let's move on. Nova can benefit a great deal from Swann's Vespene harvesters, but otherwise her unit quality is far superior to Swann's. That's true. Wait, with the exception of Swann having Thors and Cyclones! What?
Oh boy, this guy is living in a fantasy world.
Wait, with the exception of Swann having Thors and Cyclones, no mention of raids, no mention of tanks, no mention of Goliaths? Hello? Science vessels can keep Nova's mechanized units alive while not requiring her to make ravens? Oh my goodness.
She should still make ravens.
She should still make
do
ravens.
do science vessels shoot out predator missiles? Do they shoot out railgun turrets? No.
Swann's static
Ay.
defense can easily compensate for Nova's poor defense. This is true though. This part's true. Swann's static defense can easily compensate for Nova's poor defensive structures. Tech reactors don't help Nova's production, as her unit cooldowns are cooldown based. Additionally, Swann's laser can work in tandem with Nova as she dismantles enemy bases. This part's very true, especially if you have infiltration specialist Nova.
P3 Nova.
Yes. In fact, that's probably the best synergy for these two. Right?
That's the one that Loco and Grant did for the mutation gauntlet?
I believe they did the version of that. Anyway, another thing they can do is defensive drone. Nova can use defensive drone and then just keep Swann's army alive for longer. That's probably also a pretty good synergy for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anything else? Then if Swann is having problems with mobility, can attack it. Tactical airlift them.
There we go. All right. That's probably it's probably better than the science vessel stuff. This guy putting cyclones. This guy trying to put cyclones in the same. Oh no, not even in the same air. No, he's trying to insinuate that cyclones.
Compare Nova.
Oh my goodness. Nova is the cyclones of all things. Oh my goodness.
He's saying Nova can't compete with a Thor when she has raid liberators. I don't think so, buddy.
Hara and Horner have amazing synergy with Swann. Swann has access to Vespene extractors, allowing the gas-heavy late-game fleet of Han and Horner to get built out quicker. Science vessels can repair. Hara and Horner can screen for siege tanks with their spin. Okay, this part's true. Giving them more damage to targets with their Ravens. Provide vision for the laser drill with their air. Okay, this part's also true. Provide vision for the laser drill using the airstrikes. Granted, it's temporary vision, but it's still vision, which can constantly damage structures, while the laser drill provides extra support. Swann players that go heavy Goliath allow Hara and Horner to focus less on anti-air. Swann also has powerful defensive turrets. This is probably the biggest thing. Hara and Horner does not have static defense, so Swann will have to be the static defense for both of them, which probably goes without saying. Swann has better static defense compared to most other commanders, so I think this is fair, right? Just the last part.
Yeah. The first part is like the heavy focus on Horner units. I mean, people who play P1 are focusing mostly on the Han units, and that's completely doable. I mean, a lot of people play just pure Mass Reapers, and that'll get you through Brutal 0, Brutal +1, no problem.
For me, I guess if the Hara and Horner goes for the second prestige, Wing Commanders, they can make use of the gas, but it costs so much gas that it'll probably buy you one, extra set of rates. Not even, right? For the entire game,
I
not even.
play I play P2. I play P2 the most out of and Horner's prestigious, and yeah, having the extra gas helps out a lot. It's not just one or two race. It's like you will be able to dump
Oh no,
pretty much.
no,
You'll be able to get all of them out.
no. I actually
That
did the
the
math.
cooldown is.
I actually did the math. Like for the course of the entire game, the gas drones in total over the course of a 20-minute game, they provide like 250 gas. 250 gas. Think about that.
150 gas, but it's coming in for the course of the entire game. I mean,
Right?
it's allowing you to get more out faster. All I can say is I know with the Swann ally, and he's when the gas drones come out, I'm able to get the race out quicker, earlier, and then I'm able to, because P2 has a reduced cooldown on the starport, I can pretty much get up to the point that I can't keep up with the cooldown.
Okay, a minor correction. I said 250 gas for the course of the entire game. No, it's actually more like 3,000 gas, which is pretty substantial over the course of the entire game. Okay, I stand corrected. Let's move on then. Tychus has only moderate synergy with Swann due to him not requiring immense amounts of Vespene gas. See, even this wiki just counts Swann as the gas guy for most people. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
The laser drill is an incredible support for Tychus. When Tychus pushes, the laser drill can shoot bunches of melee units to help Tychus himself not get surrounded, so he can micro back more effectively. The laser drill can help focus down large units like Thors and tanks and banshees to keep Tychus relatively healthy. The rates are incredible at dealing single target damage and can supplement Cricket Sam if he wanted to snipe those main objectives using just the snipe strategy. What else?
I mean, it's kind of like Tychus. It's pretty straightforward for this description. One thing I'd like to add is Tychus is, yes, he's not strapped for gas, but he does need gas early on because each medevac platform is 200 gas. That's nothing to sneeze at for the early game. So having that little boost helps out significantly, but it allows him to potentially do without one gas geyser for the rest of the game if he wanted to, or he just builds the refinery, and then you don't have to put all your workers on it.
So according to this year's spreadsheet that I made, Swann's gas drones, each gas drone provides about 19 gas per minute. So if you can afford two gas drones, that's about 40 per minute. So yeah, that's substantial. Like you can afford an extra medevac platform every 5 minutes. So yeah, it can help, I guess. It can help.
And Tychus is strapped for minerals, so if you can build a few less workers and putting them to refineries, that's kind of significant.
All right.
Yeah, there's a synergy there.
Not mentioned is Arcturus. Arcturus synergy with Swann. Oh my goodness. Earth splitters providing vision for the laser drill.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh
just like
yeah.
earth shattering right there.
That's earth
And
splitting right there.
Arcturus is super gas heavy.
It's super
So
gas heavy.
yeah,
Yeah, that will absolutely help.
I mean, it's significant synergy, and both of them can ramp up real quick, or at least build things on the spot real quick. So it's kind of nice to have someone that can respond quickly with due to threats coming into the base just by pulling laborers or SCVs.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think. Oh, one more thing. Repair. Swann's SCVs again repair for free, so you can just have them repair Arcturus stuff in case they need help. Plus, static defense-wise, I think bunkers can supplement flaming betties. You can put bunkers behind flaming betties, beside blaster billies, to really help the defense out if you want to go for that strategy.
Where
Uh,
Octurus's static defense actually is better than Swann's is if it's anti-air and you need the range. Rocket troopers, holy moly,
Rocket
the range
troopers,
on those suckers.
incredible. All right, let's move on.
Yep.
Zerg commanders. Vespene harvesters are boon to Ultralisk and Mulisk productive for Kerrigan, and Baiting productive for Zagara. Oh, 2-in-1. It's efficient for Swann to focus on a powerful ground army, while Kerrigan and Zagara get an Air Force. Zagara? Air Force?
Purchase.
But it's not an Air Force. It's like an air wave, like
Yeah.
a kamikaze wave.
Yeah.
Kerrigan's
Yeah.
Nidus worms can also help out with Swann's poor mobility. I
Yeah.
guess, but
He has hurt dropships. Come on.
right? He already
You
is.
shouldn't have poor mobility. Is like, I mean, yeah, okay. If you have a ally Kerrigan who's like spamming out Omega Worms all over the place, then yeah, you can forego the hurt dropships and just travel via worm. But yeah, even if he didn't have a Kerrigan ally, Swann should not be having poor mobility. The poor mobility is due to not being able to micro hurt dropships.
What I wanted to be mentioned here was number one, assimilation aura. Oh my goodness, assimilation aura is huge
Yep.
for Swann. Convert enemies into money, so you can up your production. That's huge. I can't believe it wasn't mentioned.
Early game minerals.
Yes, early game once Kerrigan comes out, convert enemies to money, collect the money, build stuff. So huge. Another thing is
And
malignant
the
creep.
timing that when Eric Carrion comes out too is when combat drop is available. So there should be no excuse for you not to pick up that free
Yes.
minerals.
Another thing is malignant creep. Malignant creep is amazing for Swann because it makes the stuff shoot faster. So, well, except if they're rates, of course. But yeah, the malignant creep will help Swann out here. And also, the defensive matrix on Kerrigan herself. Oh, that's going to be really good. Just keep her alive for longer. And also, detection. If Kerrigan provides Omega Worms, Swann doesn't need to build. Swann will no longer have reason to build science vessels. I mean, aside from using defensive matrix, but one problem I found with science vessels is that if you go for a Hercules tank Goliath army with science vessels, often the science vessels are the only thing in the air, and they get sniped by, for example, Scourge and stuff. So if Kerrigan provides Omega Worms, that will lessen the need to even produce science vessels at any point. For Zagara, Zagara's very much it's very much early game, late game combination. Zagara gets all the early game, Swann cleans up the late game. That's pretty much how their synergy works out. Anything else?
And yeah, having that boon to Zagara's scourge supply is nice for sniping major objectives, or yeah, you just don't want to go into that sliver range and get decimated.
Yes. Another thing is go
Otherwise,
ahead. Another thing is
yeah, no, go ahead.
Another thing is if you are using the third prestige for Zagara Apex Predator, if you deep tunnel to enemy base, and you think that you don't have support in the early game, guess again, Laser Drill helps Zagara zap down all those enemies and slow them down so they can't dodge Zagara's abilities like the Bailing Barrage and stuff. So it's pretty good. It's really good when you have the Laser Drill just being able to shoot anywhere where Zagara is. And then, aside from that, when you want to defend the spot, often the bio launchers are great, but you need something to be in front of them. And you know, that something could be static defense from Swann. So you can have bio launchers.
Factory.
Yeah, factory also, but you can have Betties, Billies, and Dizzies in the front, and bio launchers in the rear. That's an incredible static defense line. That's pretty difficult to break, if you ask me. Right?
That would be great on your favorite map, Dead of night.
Okay, let's move on. Abathur is not a good choice for Swann. Vespene harvesters allow Abathur to gain much needed gas for later game units and higher tier research. True. Many of Swann's units have high range, which allows Abathur's shorter ranged high health ground units to create a buffer between the enemy and high priority targets. I guess. Abathur's Swarm Queens can also be upgraded to heal mechanical units, yes, on high levels, and Swan Science Vessels can cast Defensive Matrix on Abathur's already durable front lines, allowing both armies to be virtually indestructible. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much. That pretty much hits it pretty head on. Abathur is chunky boy. He's thick with 3 Cs. And imagine having ultimate evolutions with defensive matrix, keep on recasting it on top of symbiote shield. Wow, that
Oh yeah.
he'll pretty much
Oh yeah.
tank for Swann's
days.
siege tanks.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a potential point of anti-synergy here if you're not careful. So, if you have the laser drill and you just have it automatically on, and Abathur is out luring for biomass that can potentially steal biomass from the toxic nests, especially when the laser drill deletes so much stuff before they reach the toxic nests. You have to, as Swann, if you know that Abathur is luring for biomass, you have to target something else, like buildings, like rocks. Get vision of your own, target that fight. Don't point your laser drill in the same spot where Abathur is gathering biomass via toxic nests. Unless you know it's air stuff.
Good thing for
Yeah.
The good thing for the early game, I find, is even if the laser drill comes up and Abathur is still luring, or if as long as you got vision of your expo rocks, the laser drill tends to prioritize the rocks first over
Well,
I guess whatever attacking units are.
Just target it so you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
Stukov does not benefit from Swann's gas drones in a major way, but Stukov's forces complement Swann's forces very well. Swann can provide a more expensive siege, while Stukov's disposable waves can create a buffer zone, protecting Swann's units and keeping the enemies in the area of max damage for siege tanks. Swann science vessels can heal Stukov's mech army. In addition, on defensive maps, bunkers and infrastructure can aid Swann siege tanks and turrets, even from long distances. The laser, meanwhile, can be used to clear the way for infested that are struggling to break through a defensive line. Mostly true, right?
It's like Stukov. Very straightforward.
Yeah. One thing I like is there's a synergy between the laser and the infested, but I think it's the other way. The infested provide vision so that the laser drill can keep shooting.
Yes.
That's how I think the synergy will work more as. For healing, for repair, I'd rather have SCVs than science vessels. For detection, brood queens. Just use brood queens on Swann stuff so they have detection automatically. And
yeah, the best thing to put detection or the ocular symbiote on is a Herc dropship.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on. The Haka and Swann are deceptively strong together. Well, the Haka and Swann are strong together because the Haka is strong alone. So, one of the Haka's major issues. One of the Haka's major issues in the late game is gas consumption with his army. A problem Swann and his Vespene drones can help address perfectly well. I personally have not had a lot of gas issues with the Haka.
Yeah.
The only time you would have gas issues with the Haka is if you don't saturate. That's pretty much it.
I think, in my opinion, the Haka's biggest problem is early game detection. So, being able for Swann to come out, build an engineering bay, a fast build an engineering bay, and put out a turret up early is going to help the Haka a lot.
For me, the Haka can use a bit of help on slapping down main objectives, and that's where rates come in. Right?
Yep. And then the other aspect, when the Haka is farming early, uh, I mean, laser drill, unlike Abathur, where he needs to get the kill or get the hit with his toxic nest in order to produce more biomass. For the Haka, it's just
It's
as
just
long as
straight up
it
help.
dies. Yep.
Plus, plus the laser will help the Haka because the cooldown of Devour varies upon the health of the unit at the time that you devour it. So if you have like a Thor shooting at the Haka and the laser keeps zapping it down until it's like red, the Haka devour the Thor at red health thanks to the laser drill, and have the buff for the Thor, and not set your cooldown back by 60 seconds, so you can actually farm a lot more effectively with the Haka if you have the laser drill helping you out. Aside from that, hmm, aside from that, I guess they can both snipe. They can both go for a sniping strategy. Swann with the rates, and Dahaka with creeper hosts.
Hmm.
Yeah, they can kind of work together that way. Defensively,
I mean,
in,
Creeper hosts also can gain vision for the laser drill too. So
yes. Defensively, Impalers are good. Swan static defense is good, but I don't think Dahaka will need to make Impalers if Swan's already a thing there, right?
yeah, I mean, having a few impalers helps cover areas where Swann is a little stretched thin. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, you don't need to have that many.
Oh, also for healing, Dahaka can get a passive healing skill, so you can just keep your army near Dahaka, and we don't have to hear anything about the science vessels healing anymore. There we go. Combine
No,
Dahaka.
please don't get that passive healing at it early on. Please don't do
I'm
that,
thinking early
folks.
on. I don't think early on. I mean,
Yeah, later. But yeah, get get either your jump or your eat early. Don't or your roar.
I
Don't
would
get passive
say
healing.
get it at like level 8 or something. Once you hit level 8 for Dahaka, then you can still you can still get you can still hit level 8 before minute 8 in the game if you're pretty good about
Yeah.
devouring stuff. So, and that's right about the
Mm,
time when Swann starts to fight with his army. So yeah, I think it's
yeah,
fine.
that's true.
All
That's
right.
true.
So, yeah, with with the Dahaka passive heal and the regenerative biosteel, Swann should be able to fight for a pretty long time, right? All
All
right.
depends on what mutators are coming in at you.
Yeah, I guess. Oh well, let's move on. Oh wait, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the last one. I believe Stetboy
Uh,
wasn't mentioned.
yes,
What's the synergy between
yes, we're missing
Swann and
Step Boy.
Stetboy? Blue zone,
Step Boy is all yeah. Blue zone, move fast. Green zone, survive good, happy.
purple zone. Your race don't
All
run out of energy.
the race don't run out of energy. You have more energy to play with on your science vessels for more defensive matrices on top of your green overcharge, making you really beefy. And
Really
I mean,
beefy.
there's so many
Really chompy.
synergies to be had with Stetman and Swann, and then yeah, Stetman can be an extremely gas heavy commander.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Oh yeah.
it
Swann's SCVs
it's
can repair every single unit that Stetboy has because they're all
yep.
mechanical.
And then if and worst case is if Swann doesn't have SCVs around, Stepboy can also repair. Not ideal to do that because it's going to cost him some resources, but yeah,
And Swan static defense? Well, Stetboy technically has static defense, but it's like really mediocre. So Swann
yeah,
can be the defense guy if Stetboy is present. Also, the gas. The gas will help Stetboy. It's pretty hard to get
immense.
Super Gary right at. You need to have a very sharp build to get Super Gary out starting as soon as he spawns at 4 minutes. If you have even a trickle of gas to help get the hive and Super Gary out to 4 minutes, that's gonna be helpful.
Yeah, but just we're not promoting you to start dumping gas drones as soon as the
Yes.
game starts. Be
Yes.
prudent about
Be
it. But
prudent.
if you if you do have a chance to get out maybe just one gas drone out before Gary comes out, that will help your stat out. Your stat ally will appreciate that
That will
significantly.
help. But if you see him like really far behind, if it's minute 2 and he doesn't have a spawning pool, if it's minute 3 and he doesn't have a lair, don't bother. It's he's not gonna be able to get Super Gary out either way because of the build time of the tech structures. Anyway, that's about it for everyone, I think. Are we missing someone? Zertul, Stetboy. No, yeah, that's it. All right. So our overall assessment of this wiki, it probably could do with a rewrite, right? There are some good
He's
parts,
missing wraiths and too much emphasis
gas
on
drones,
gas drones.
and the cyclones for some
I am
reason. Cyclones.
I'm very glad he touched upon the Herc dropships, and
Yes.
that's, if anything, that's what most Swann players need to work on.
Yes. But yeah, I would actually recommend a rewrite, especially the strategy section of this
Oh yeah, and
wiki.
floating factories.
Floating factories.
Floating factories.
We need to have a section for Swann's floating factories and rates. Rates are really good at sniping main objectives, whereas the heavy weapon specialist prestige can take out all the waves and escorts of anything. All right, that should
Yep.
be it. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. If you have an idea for what else you can do, please leave that in the comment. I'll see you guys next time.